Makovsky. I'm the President CEO of JINSA. Welcome again to JINSA's Snapshot. I'm joined again by my esteemed colleague, John Hanna, the Randi and Charles Wax Senior Fellow here at JINSA. When we last spoke on Friday, we didn't know, John, what Trump was going to do, and it seems that he made the decision relatively at the last minute, but he decided obviously to send these B-2s and the Tomahawks from the submarines and do this attack, which all of you watching this obviously have been following very closely. I commend President Trump for doing this. It was a big act. It showed that that this wasn't just Israel's fight, but it's also America's fight, and he made that clear. I think he made that very clear in his remarks last night when he went down about what Iran had done to Americans and how they killed so many American soldiers and maimed them over the years. So look, John, there's a lot obviously to think about right now. What are your initial thoughts based on what we know today about what happened?
Thank you, Mike. There's lots of things racing around all of our heads right now. To state the obvious, I think this is a huge inflection point for the Middle East and for the country of Iran in particular. I think people will look back probably and see that period between 1979 till June the 21st, 2025, and the U.S. strike as one period of time in Middle East history, and the period after the U.S. strike in June 21st, 2025 as another period entirely that we've now entered. But we'll leave history for another day. Right now, there are a couple of more immediate things that I want to throw out for the audience. The first is just a basic question. How much of Fordow did we destroy? Were we able to get everything to disable and take that facility offline completely? I think it'll be several days before the battle damage assessment is done. I think all of our intelligence communities, particularly in the U.S. and Israel, but also Western partners, will be looking at all sources, that is imagery, signals intelligence, and importantly, that human intelligence network that Israel has clearly been able to build up inside Iran, and including inside its nuclear program, to figure out and give our decision makers a clear picture of what we have actually accomplished here. And the basic question that they'll need to answer is, can they give our leaderships in the United States and Israel a relatively high degree of confidence that they have set back that Iranian nuclear program for at least a few years? Or on the other hand, are they going to come back and say, we're not sure we got everything at Fordow, or we're not sure the Iranians weren't able to spirit out of these facilities some amount of advanced centrifuges, of enriched uranium, even some weaponization components to some secret sites that we don't know about? The answer to that basic assessment will be critical in guiding the kinds of policy choices our decision makers are going to be able to make, including the critical one of how do you end this war and when. Second issue that's obvious that we're looking at right now, minute by minute, hour by hour, is what do the Iranians do in response to these strikes last night? Our old friend Ron Dermer liked to use the chess analogy that by taking Iran's nuclear program, by setting it back, destroying it, we've taken Iran's queen off of the chessboard. And the question now facing the supreme leader is, you still have your king, that is the survival of your regime. That's still on the board. And the question you face is, do you now stand down, back off, or engage in, at best, some kind of symbolic response here to save face and keep your regime surviving for at least another day to fight again? Or do you lash out of emotion, out of humiliation of what's happened to you the last 8 days, or out of the calculation that it's far more dangerous for your regime to be perceived as weak and doing nothing? Or is it more dangerous to lash out, to try and kill some Americans, to attack our Arab partners, or even to try and shut down 20% of global energy transit through the Strait of Hormuz? Do you take that risk of actually doing something dramatic? I think the president and Vice President J.D. Vance have been entirely correct to put that choice to the Iranian leadership as clearly as they can. We'll let you survive another day, come back to the table, and agree to our terms for dismantling your nuclear program, or you can try some kind of large-scale retaliation, at which point all bets are off, including the survival of this project you've had for 46 years, the Islamic Revolution. You hope Iran takes the right decision, but based on the last several days, weeks, months, they've consistently made the wrong decision in response to the critical choices that they face. So we'll have to see and watch carefully over the coming days and be prepared for anything. Mike, over to you.
Thanks. I want to say also, I commended President Trump, of course, rightly, but I also want to commend the U.S. military for executing this so well. And that includes General Kurilla, who's, I think, been an outstanding CENTCOM commander. I'm not sure this would have happened as much as the way it did if it wasn't for him. And of course, all the pilots and all the other servicemen and women who were involved in actually attacking the Iran nuclear facilities. I also wanted to say, and on that, President Trump also commended the IDF, the Israeli military, for doing a wonderful job. And he noted in his remarks last night as well that he also thanked Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, and he said no team had worked more closely together. And you have Prime Minister Netanyahu obviously congratulated and thanked President Trump last night. So I think what you see here, it's an important moment, I think, in the bilateral relationship. Here was a case where there was a threat to both countries. President Trump made that very clear. Some people on the isolationist right said, this is Israel's fight. We have nothing to do with it. And President Trump made it clear, no, the Iranians have killed over 1,000 Americans and killed and maimed over 1,000 Americans, soldiers over the years, and been the bully in the Middle East. And he made it clear that the Iranian threat is a threat to the United States. And as his close friend and senior U.S. official, Steve Witkoff, said right before Israel commenced their operation, nuclear Iran is a threat, an existential threat, not only to Israel, but to the United States. So you have this idea of a shared threat. And I think President Trump appreciated what the Israelis have done. And obviously, the U.S. came in to do what the Israelis would have been a lot harder for them to do, or something that the Israelis could not have achieved, which was their attack on Fordow and so on. So I think you have this convergence of interests, but more importantly, you have the two countries working side by side together, maybe taking different parts of the operation, but coordinating with each other and really neutralizing a common threat. And I think it's a great moment to step back about the bilateral relationship. You mentioned Ron Dermer, our friend, who was a JINSA distinguished fellow in between the stints as ambassador, and he used to say a lot when he was ambassador, that Israel will be the most important ally of the United States of the 21st century. And I think it's worth pondering whether, the special relationship the United States had with England, that term, of course, was a term of art, I think, by Churchill, the special relationship. And maybe in this century, it really is true that the special relationship for the United States, 21st century, might really be with Israel, because no other country would have had the guts to do what Israel has done, turn the region around virtually single-handedly, with the help, of course, with American weapons and with the help of America helping defend their airspace. But Israel has transformed the region. And now with President Trump coming in, he has further transformed it. but it's really impressive for this little country of under 10 million people to do such a thing. There is no other country in the world that would do such a thing. And I think it's something we're going to have to think about what this means going forward, about how to build on this bilateral cooperation on such a vital security threat to both countries. Anyway, John, I look forward to talking about that and more in other our snapshots. I thank everybody for joining us today, and please join us for future JINSA webinars and including for tomorrow, where we're going to further discuss this. And please tune in to our next JINSA snapshot. Meanwhile, have a good rest of your Sunday. Thank you very much.